guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. As you can tell, I've taken a couple of weeks off from recording videos, thanks to YouTube giving me a strike. One of them was not up to me, so they gave me a little time off, and I took that time to go down and visit my mom for Thanksgiving. This is the first Thanksgiving without my father being alive and with her since he passed away last year just after Christmas. So I decided to go down and spend the holidays with her, and I decided to try some beard dye to take some gray out, and it took me all the way to dark brown. So needless to say, I'm going to look a little odd for the next week while it grows itself out. But hey, experiment attempted, experiment failed. We'll jump right into the story I have here for today, body count burnout. You know, trying to reason with women is trying to convince, I don't know, it's trying to convince a bird not to fly or a fish not to swim. It's not going to happen. Just reasoning with women just doesn't happen. But they want to reason with us, and they want to explain to us why it's okay if they have a huge body count and why we shouldn't pay attention to it. Local Australian Jana Hocking, one of my favorite dingbat dating gurus. I did an article on this just almost before I took my break, which is why she was quiet quitting men, saying she needs time to reflect and why she's not going to be in the dating market much anymore. And what happens after that? Well, here we have just a story from a couple days ago on how now she's going to try to convince you that, well, even though she and many other, unfortunately, most other women have high body counts today, it doesn't actually matter, that they still get married, you see. And so there's no such thing as too many partners. This is what we like to call the bargaining phase, where she's trying to either convince herself or anybody else that doesn't want her why it's okay that she's racked up probably triple-digit body counts and why men don't want her. And of course, I have data to refute what she says as inaccurate as always, but no matter how many times men say we do not want women with high body counts, we do not women, at least quality men. Now, maybe there are some dudes out there that are like, I'll be happy to have any woman. Guys that have money and are successful and have choices do not choose the town doorknob where everybody's taking their turn. Well, new from Jana Hocking, she says on why there's no such thing as too many partners, too many sexual partners. She said, ever been told you're not marriage material? I know I have numerous times. Well, that's a shock, isn't it? Usually from someone who frowns at my hedonistic lifestyle. So at least she admits that she's just basically a 40-year-old party girl. She says, keep dating all these blokes, Jana, and you'll get a reputation. One great aunt likes to constantly remind me, congratulations, you have your reputation, because I'm doing videos on you, so at least you've made it as far as the United States to YouTube. She says, take a deep dive into my DMs and you'll find many an angry gent ranting on how I'm encouraging women to be promiscuous, and I'm going to end up with is a couple of cats and some horrible STIs. Well, first of all, I adore cats. And secondly, praise be for prophylactics, safe sex practices, always people. So again, she's like, well, I'm not going to catch anything because I make them wear jimmies, which is not 100% proof. And on top of that, again, just giving excuses why her activity is fine and no one should be concerned. Now, I don't know about you, but when I picture an ideal woman to date, no matter what age you are, it's probably not going to be a 40-something with a body count in triple digits. I guarantee you that. And because what it tells you is that no matter what she does, she cannot succeed in a relationship. She can't find love. She's too picky. She's too easy. She leaves them. They leave her. Something happens. That's what it tells you. But it also tells you she's quick to jump in the sack and try to have some fun without locking down a relationship first. And guys know this. The spidey tingle goes off and they said, you know something, she is not relationship material. And so they have their fun and they move on, or she does. But remember, she was just a month ago why she was quitting men. Now she's like, well, I'm not going to quit them, but I'm going to tell you why it's okay that I don't quit them and that I sleep with so many of them and why it doesn't really affect me. Good luck with that. She says, so it brings me great joy to report that science has come to the rescue. Fact, the amount of sexual partners you've had has little to no impact on whether you're marriage material or not. Now, there's a caveat. Put in a big asterisk right there, and I'll tell you why. She's looking mighty rough, and that looks like a little bit of a herpes sore right there. Just saying. That's what that looks like right there, Jana. She said, Jana Hocking is told she's not marriage material by people who criticize her sex life. Seriously, don't just take my word for it. This grand statement comes from scientific researchers at the universities of Utah and Oklahoma who analyzed data on nearly 9,000 people who had disclosed their sexual history over 18 years. They discovered that the recent number of sexual partners was associated with a reduction in the odds of marriage, but this effect only lasted a year, suggesting the link is temporary, which is good news for those of us who have had a decent crack at the single life. Now remember, this doesn't say anything about happiness, success in the relationship, or anything else. It just says you're likely still to get married. Now, I don't know about you, but again, lots of guys out there that have money and are kind of have their head in the game a little bit, know enough not to get married. So there's probably, again, a lot of blue-pilled, guys that are maybe desperate for a woman that are willing to look past the history to still get married. I do not see quality men jumping back into marriage for the first time or a second or third time. She says women with multiple sex partners are just as likely to get married as are virgins, if somewhat later, the study states. As your typical type A person, I kept a list of my partners, and I remember the day it surpassed 10. Yes, I'm sure it was probably back in 1991. Oh God, I thought myself as I added another Harry to the list. I thought I'd be married by the time I reached this number. I thought I'd be safe by the time I reached this number. Are you talking about your age number, or are you talking about the piles of bodies that are in your wake? Safe to say it's always lingered in the back of my mind, but not enough to really stop me from having a good time. Exactly. So even though men are screaming, please no, we do not, look, we'll sleep with a woman with a high body count in many instances. Of course, many men will not. But they certainly don't want to marry them, and they certainly don't want to get in a committed relationship, because when you have so many partners, it is a key, kind of a key number that guys say, hey, you know what? That means she's likely to cheat on me, leave me, get pregnant by another dude. Something's not going to work out. It's obvious she doesn't have high value for herself if she's willing to give herself to so many men so cheaply. And of course, it doesn't stop her from continuing to give herself out, as she says here. Doesn't stop me from having a good time. Okay, good luck. She says, and don't get me wrong, my list isn't huge. I've been watching your stories for years. Yes, it is. But enough to classify as someone who has a healthy libido. Yes, you can have a healthy libido. It doesn't mean you have to share it with literally everyone in the greater Melbourne or Sydney area. The study went on to say, although straight women have historically been stigmatized for having casual sex, our analysis suggests that this does not manifest itself in long-term singleness. Women with multiple partners are just as likely to get married as are virgins of someone later, which they said earlier. But here again, it's not about being single versus being married. That's not where the body count comes into play. Where it comes into play is what kind of quality men are you going to be able to marry, and how happy are you going to be in that marriage? And I have some interesting statistics on that. So the question is, why are women who are slightly promiscuous, slightly promiscuous, right? As if a body count under 60 is just slightly. Although today that may be slightly compared to others. Why are they getting married later? Scientists found a number of reasons why, including women being more financially independent, becoming less thrilled by the idea of a lifelong commitment to just one person. Ding, 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 that's a winner. I get it. Really getting vibes that this study was based upon me. Like quite a few of my friends, I quite fancy the idea of getting married, but I'm in a rush to skip down that aisle. No. And the stats don't lie. Marriages in 2021 were down a whopping 21% compared to 2019, and that excludes the lockdown period. Wow. So anyway, here's the thing. Again, she's 40, 41, not in a hurry to settle with one lifelong partner. She's now in her 40s, which are, whether she wants a kid or not, she's now entered the eggless phase of her life. She's 40 or 41. Her looks are going to start to show it, especially here. She's going to look like the barfly. High body count, and she comes with a lot of baggage. And so the option to get married is going to be gone unless she gets married to some, again, loser. But here's the thing. The study that she talks about is about getting married. But here's the kick. New study claims, now this is from 2014, so we're going back here, 8 years now. New study claims people who've had more partners report unhappier marriages. Right. So yeah, she still may be able to get married based on statistics, but it's going to be an unhappier marriage. And what happens during unhappy marriages? The women leave and they take half your cash and half the prizes because of no-fault divorce. So the odds are, yeah, she may still get married. The odds are also that she will end up leaving you and taking half your crap. Here's another one. Fewer partners means a happier marriage. And this is from 2018, and this is a different study. And here's the part I wanted, and this is from 2017 study here on Psychology Today, another article. In 2017, Steve Stewart Williams and I asked 188 participants from the UK to tell us how willing they would be to have a long-term relationship with someone based on their previous number of sexual partners. We started low. What if the person was a virgin? What about if they had just one? What about 19 to 22? What about more than 60? The participants rated 16 histories in total, each time indicating their willingness on a 9-point scale from very willing to very unwilling, obviously, to date and be with these people. The study format was basic and intentionally so, as mate selection involves a holistic judgment across many different traits. Stripping these traits away allowed us to get a clearer idea of the influence of past partner numbers in the first interest. Among others, our goals were to gain an idea of how many past partners are considered too many. Here's what they say. We plotted the data. Two things jumped out at us. First, we found a curve. There was a peak in willingness. People were typically less willing to consider a relationship with a virgin than someone with a bit of experience. Now, I have to think that would probably be mostly for males. I don't think women want a guy that is completely unexperienced because in many ways that reflects on the man that he's not desirable to other women. And women like mate selection based on other women wanting the person they want to be with. So if there's a guy that no women want, a woman's not going to say, I will be the first. But if there's a man that every woman wants, despite his past and his bad actions and his problems, if 99 other women raise their hands, that woman would be like, I must be missing something. Everybody else wants him. I guess I will too, right? That's called mate selection. Well, they say here, after 2 or 3 partners, willingness declined steadily from about 7 out of 9 for 4 partners to about 2 out of 9 for 60 plus. Meaning, and I guess instead of a scale of 1 to 10, since there was 9 different categories, I guess they came up with, that once you get up to 60 plus, 2 out of 9. It says, secondly, we found considerable overlap between the responses of men and women. Men were slightly more forgiving of a large sexual history than women. How ironic is that? Now that men are like, well, I guess if she has more partners, I guess I have to be more forgiving. Why? Because the number of available women that have fewer partners is non-existent. Women have started to act like men, sleeping with everybody, but because they can a lot easier than men, that means their partner counts are going up much higher. But they say that this effect was small and tracked the same pattern as women. In short, there was very little evidence for a double standards. And they say the costs of high numbers for partners. Why do we even see a drop? Why should humans care about their partner's sexual history at all? Even in the restricted Stone Age mating market, having sex with someone who had a greater number of partners than average had risks, the most obvious being STIs, which would have been greater reproductive consequences for ancestral man than women. A colorful history might also have indicated a prospective partner was less willing or able to commit to a relationship with potential consequences for those looking to invest a lot of time and energy in a long-term committed relationship. And that's really what it boils down to right there. What it boils down to is that when men when women see a man that is able to sleep with a lot of women, when women see a man that's able to sleep with a lot of women, many times they may not necessarily find that a desirable trait, but what it tells them is that that man is very successful and very desired by a lot of women. And so in many cases, it's actually a bit of a good thing, or at least a neutral thing, because it is difficult for a man to convince and show value, so much so that all the women want to be with him. But for a woman to be desired by all men, all she has to do in many cases is be relatively attractive, breathing, and willing. And so when a woman is, quote unquote, successful with a lot of men, it shows that she's easy. And is this fair? Probably not. Is it the way the world works? Definitely so. And so what happens is when men see women with a high body count, just like Jana trying to explain to everybody why it's not a bad thing, like, oh, don't judge me. I still have the opportunity to get married, so I'm not going to stop my bad actions. But if you look at Jana's history of dating, she's all over the place like a guy with 17 beers on an icy road at midnight with no headlights. That's how all over the place she is. And we know this, and we see this kind of thing. And that's what makes guys say, hey, you know what? The odds of you staying are low. The odds of you cheating are high. Everybody's had a turn at you, so there is no value in you if you give yourself away for free. I do not want to tie my ship to that kind of anchor. And that's all there is to it. So the summation here is, no matter how much ladies try to convince us men that having a body count doesn't matter, and that having lots of partners doesn't matter, and we should still want to marry them and be with them, the truth of the matter is guys know better. It's the lizard brain thing that says, nope, we may have our fun with you as well. Not all of them, but again, quite a few of them. We might have our fun with you as well, but we're certainly not going to keep you around for very long because we don't trust you. And we know something's going to fall apart in the long run. For those of you here on Locals, I'm going to continue on with a couple of different stories. I have two more stories about Cambridge Dictionary changing definitions of men and women, and the tramp stamps are coming back. For those of you on YouTube, make sure to join over on betterbachelor.locals.com, and we'll continue on our videos over there.